Right now, the money in your bank account doesn't exist. Not really. If you have $1,000 sitting in your account, the bank does not have your $1,000 in a vault with your name on it. It has, at most, a small slice of it in actual cash. The rest has been lent out to someone buying a house, a business making payroll, a stranger you'll never meet. Your money is simultaneously yours and somebody else's, and the entire global economy runs on the quiet assumption that you and everyone else will never ask for it all at the same time. So what happens if we do? What happens if every person walks into their bank tomorrow morning and says, "Give me everything"? The answer is stranger, faster, and more fragile than almost anyone realizes, and it's happened for real, more than once. Let's start with the thing they never quite explain to you. When you deposit money in a bank, you probably picture it sitting there, waiting for you, like a coat in a coat room. That's not what happens. The moment your money lands in the account, the bank keeps only a small fraction on hand and lends the rest out to earn interest. This is called fractional reserve banking, and it is not a scam or a loophole. It is the deliberate, foundational design of the entire modern financial system. It's how banks make money, and crucially, it's how the economy gets the loans it runs on. The mortgage that built your neighbor's house, the loan that started your favorite local restaurant, that's your deposited money, out working in the world instead of sleeping in a vault. And here's the part that genuinely bends the mind. This process actually creates money out of almost nothing. Watch how. You deposit $100. The bank keeps 10 and lends 90 to someone else. That person spends the 90 and it lands in another bank, which keeps 9 and lends out 81. That 81 gets deposited, and 81 becomes 73 lent onward. Your single $100 bill has now become hundreds of dollars of deposits spread across the system, all of it spendable, all of it real, on paper, but backed by that same original physical cash. Economists call this the money multiplier. The vast majority of what we call money isn't paper or coins at all. It's numbers on screens, built on a chain of trust. The actual physical cash in the system is only a tiny fraction of the total money that supposedly exists. So now the uncomfortable question answers itself. If only a sliver of all that money exists as actual cash, and everyone demands their cash at once, the bank simply cannot give it to them. It's not that the bank is hiding it or refusing. The money is genuinely not there in that form. It's tied up in a 30-year mortgage that can't be called back tomorrow, in bonds that don't mature for years. A bank facing every customer at the door has to do something desperate. Sell off its loans and investments immediately, at fire sale prices, just to scrape together cash. And here's the cruel twist. That very act can destroy a bank that was perfectly healthy the day before. Selling good assets at a huge loss turns a solvent bank into a broke one. The panic itself is what kills the bank. The fear becomes the cause. This is a bank run, and the most chilling thing about it is the logic each individual person follows. Imagine you hear a rumor your bank is in trouble. You know the bank only has cash for a fraction of its customers, so you know that whoever gets there first gets paid, and whoever's last gets nothing. What's the rational move? Run to the bank immediately. But everyone else does the exact same math at the exact same moment, and so the rumor of collapse produces the collapse. It's a self-fulfilling prophecy. Even a completely solvent, well-run bank cannot survive everyone showing up at once, because no bank on earth keeps enough cash for that. That's not a flaw in one bad bank, that's the structure itself. If this sounds theoretical, it isn't. It built the worst economic catastrophe of the 20th century. During the Great Depression, the United States was hit by waves of bank runs. It often started with a single failure in some small rural town, but fear is contagious. When one bank went down, depositors at the next bank over got nervous and pulled their money, which weakened that bank, which scared the next town and the next. Economists call this financial contagion, and the word is apt. It spreads like a virus. Bank to bank, city to city. The numbers are staggering. Over 9,000 banks failed in the United States during this period, nearly half of all the banks in the country, wiping out the life savings of millions of ordinary people. And as all that money got pulled out of banks and stuffed under mattresses, the money multiplier ran in reverse. The total money supply in the country collapsed by about a third. The economy didn't just lose the failed banks, It lost the very ability to create and circulate money. Spending froze, businesses died. The bank runs didn't just reflect the depression, they deepened it and dragged it out for years. Now, you might be thinking, that was the 1930s, before modern safeguards. We're smarter now. And we are, partly. But in March of 2023, the world watched it happen again, in real time, in just about 48 hours. Silicon Valley Bank was the 16th largest bank in America, a pillar of the tech industry, not some fly-by-night operation. It had taken its customers' deposits and parked a huge amount in long-term government bonds, about the safest investment that exists. But when interest rates shot up, the market value of those older bonds fell, leaving the bank with big paper losses. When that news got out, customers got scared. And here's the modern twist that makes this terrifyingly fast. They didn't have to line up on a sidewalk. They pulled their money with their phones. Word ripped through group chats and social media in hours. And in a single day, customers yanked $42 billion out of the bank. The classic slow-motion bank run of the 1930s now happens at the speed of a text message. By the next morning, regulators had seized the bank. Decades of business gone in 2 days, killed by the same ancient mechanism, just faster. So if the system is this fragile, why isn't your money vanishing every few years? Because after the Depression taught its brutal lesson, we built defenses, and they're cleverer than most people give them credit for. The first and most important is deposit insurance. In the United States, an agency called the FDIC guarantees the money in your account up to $250,000 per account. Think about what that does to the psychology. The whole reason to run to the bank is fear of being last in line and getting nothing. But if the government guarantees you'll get your money no matter what, then there's no reason to run at all. Deposit insurance doesn't just refund people after a collapse, it prevents the collapse by removing the fear that causes it. It's a firebreak built directly into human panic, and it works precisely because most people believe it works. The second defense is a thing called the lender of last resort, usually the central bank like the Federal Reserve. Here's the key insight that took a depression to learn. A bank caught in a run is often not actually broke. Its money is just stuck in loans it can't sell fast enough. It's not insolvent, it's illiquid, asset-rich but cash-poor at the worst possible moment. So the central bank steps in and does something only it can do. It lends the trembling bank emergency cash, instantly, using those frozen loans as collateral. The bank can now pay every customer who shows up, and once people see the money is flowing, the reason to panic evaporates. The line dissolves. In effect, the central bank can conjure cash on demand to outlast any panic, a backstop the 1930s simply didn't have in place. Which brings us to the real answer to our original question. What actually happens if everyone, everywhere, demands all their cash at once? In a single bank, it fails, unless it's rescued. But across the whole system, all at once, you'd hit a wall built into the very nature of money. There is not enough physical cash in existence to hand over, because most money was never physical to begin with. The authorities would face a stark choice. They could freeze the banks entirely, and this has actually been done. In the depths of the Depression, the president declared a bank holiday, slamming every bank in the country shut for days until the panic cooled and inspectors could certify which banks were sound. Or the central bank could try to print physical currency fast enough to meet the demand, flooding the country with newly created cash. But that path has its own monster waiting at the end of it. If you suddenly multiply the physical money to cover everyone, you can crush the value of the currency itself, and the cash people fought so hard to withdraw starts becoming worth less in their hands. And that's the strange trap at the very center of the whole system. The money in your account is a promise that works perfectly as long as we all believe in it and don't test it all at once. The cash, the loans, the houses, the businesses, the entire structure stands on the single quiet assumption that we won't all ask for everything on the same morning. It isn't built on gold in a vault. It's built on the fact that, almost always, you trusted enough to leave it alone. Which means the thing actually holding the global economy together, the thing keeping the numbers on your screen meaning anything at all, was never really the cash. It was the trust. And trust is the one thing no central bank can ever print.